cards. I have a chair report from Mark. The PSTA Board of Directors met on Wednesday, March 27th. A majority of the meeting was devoted to the proposed service cuts that we've been hearing about since the beginning of the year. Board members as well as members of the public expressed their concern over eliminating Route 58 that serves Bryan Dairy, the City of Seminole, and SPC, Seminole Campus. The public has a chance to voice their opinions about these cuts, and they will be getting more information about these hearings later in this afternoon's meeting. Debbie Luis, Chief Financial Officer, provided clear and concise fiscal information of the board to the Board of Directors that explained down to the penny where PSTA funding comes from and how vital a new funding source is to the financial stability of PSTA. And that's from Mark. And then there are some notes. I'd like to take this time to thank those of you who have volunteered to help public engagement, to surveying and encourage other TRAC members to sign up and be ambassadors to administer the Looper survey this month. You can see Juan Luvian after this meeting to sign up. There he is, right there.
Also there.
Yeah. Special thanks and good luck to Derek Shaver. This is his last TRAC meeting as he and his wife are moving to West Virginia. Yes.
Thank you.
Very exciting. Thanks for your service to TRAC. We will miss you.
Yes.
Well, good luck, Darryl.
Okay. Next, we want to hear from Dave Kovac.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah, Ford Pinellas report.
Thanks, everybody. I'll make this as fast as I can. I did miss last month's Ford Pinellas meeting. I was ill, but I keep up with them and have friends over there. What they primarily did was send off a letter like we did, encouraging, which is so great that the citizens write to the board. And there's the two big initiatives going on right now, which are complete streets. You guys know about that, slowing down traffic, sidewalks, safety for pedestrians. And the other is the Vision Zero I've been telling you about, which is every new project, whether it's putting in a curb, let alone widening a lane, has to at least talk about how is it making it safe for death. We get a map every month of where every fatality occurred. Head-on collision, pedestrian, bicycle. It's a little ghastly, but Vision Zero, they said, what was our target going to be? A 5%, 10% better? They said, no, the vision should be zero. Every death should be treated as a horrible loss. And so every project that's made from now on has to have a line in it looking at that. The other thing is something that's coming up next week, Tuesday the 23rd. It's called HAPE, I cannot say it, Health in All Policies. I was meeting down in the Coliseum. Everyone's invited. It's at a government level. What we're seeing, I think you guys see it all the time, is that health issues, everybody is worried about it, starting with Michelle Obama, transit, kids, they're playing, they're watching too much. How is all this working? And especially the economic justice piece of it, you know, are we getting to a point where only rich people can be healthy? What are we doing? And so health in all policies included Forward Pinellas. I think PSTA is involved in it. City governments to say, just like pedestrian safety, all of our functions should involve citizen health. Make sure we're not making it harder for people to be healthy. Don't have, whatever, are we changing the school hours? Are we putting up fences or what? That we're making people less healthy. Let's make that part of what we just assume we should be doing, that's good government. Good government is not killing people. Good government is helping people be healthy as a policy. And so there's going to be a get-together down at the Coliseum for that. I'm hoping to go. That's it.
Thank you. More information. Okay. Oh, did everybody take a look at last month's meeting, which was March 27th? Oh, no, that was not right.
March 19th.
19th, thank you. And we'll take a motion to approve. And who wants to say aye? Aye to approve it?
I approve.
Yeah.
Second?
I'll second that.
And we're gonna take a vote now. Approving last month's meetings, we'll take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And anybody
Opposed?
opposed say nay. Okay, it passes. Thank you. And we're gonna move ahead to service adjustments, and Bob Lasher's gonna show us more details about that.
Thank you. These are the ones we've been discussing for a few months now. We'll bring them up here. Go. That should have gone up. Very good. All right, sorry, I had to get the technology working. As I mentioned, we've been discussing this for a while. These we first brought to you in January. These are some of the cuts that we were looking at because right now, budget-wise, we're looking at about a $1.7 million deficit moving forward. So we were looking at some of the routes that had lower ridership, and the proposals came down. We've been looking at eliminating the 2258 Safety Harbor Connector, as well as Palm Harbor, Dunedin, and the East Lake Shuttle. As far as the 16, we were going to eliminate a portion of that and change the 38, and we'll get to that. We've got some maps to show you what that change, how it would affect, but it would eliminate surface in the Coffee Pot Bayou area. Also eliminating the eastern portion of 5 and covering that with a 9. We'll show you that as well, because that would be a one-seat ride between Grand Central and our Gateway transfer area on the Route 9. And then we'd also be eliminating some DART service in areas that aren't under the, or outside of what would be 3/4 of a mile of our fixed routes. And this is, this shows you, I know you've got a handout here, but the handout, both of these colors look very similar. So this would be the change to the 16 and the 38, whereas we would take off the northern part of the 16, and that would be covered by the 38, so you lose this area in the 38 and the northern part of the 16. And that's where we would get the savings in. As far as the 9, we would just add it from downtown along 5th Avenue, so we'd pick up the area on the 5, and we have had a lot of requests over the years for direct connection between Gateway and Grand Central, so that's the change you can see there. And then this would be the 5. The 5 would be just Grand Central out to Tyrone Square as it currently runs right now. And these are the primary areas where you'd see most of the loss as far as DART, but you notice it's too high for me to reach. Here at Safety Harbor, you lose some. Also in the northwest portions of Tarpon Springs, and then there's some down around Passerville and St. Pete as well that would be losing it. So those are the effects. Now, we had our public hearing last Wednesday evening here. It wasn't a bad show out. I think we had about 15 people or so. Well, I wasn't sure how many we'd get because of what you see here, the top number. We have had, as of yesterday, almost 300 comments come in from phone, email, pretty much any way you can get, social media. In my 15 years here, 14, that's unprecedented. That is a huge number. We've had a lot of outpouring, and none of them were in support of it. Every one of them involved every single cut, no matter which route. Somebody was saying, don't do this, don't do this. Very overwhelming. These are just some of them that came in online by email. I put them up, 50 different, there's 22, the 58, and of course people for DART as well. And we still have more comments. We're still getting more in, and don't forget, we'll also have another public comment period before the board meeting this month. So this unprecedented number of comments coming to us is sure to rise. It is, in my opinion, quite impressive. So coming to you today, we're asking you to take action, and we've got two choices. You can endorse and approve the service cuts by staff implemented this June, which would be June 2nd for the service change, or encourage the board to get $5 million in operating revenue to keep them going at least through next year. And that will be your decision today, and you can discuss it. Yes, sir.
When a route has been eliminated, for instance, the 58, when we had those two individuals that came in last month, is there an alternative? Once a route has had to make arrangements to somehow, they said get the Raytheon, they had to work at Raytheon, what could service be expanded to another route, or is it just eliminated altogether, or are they just out of luck?
In this case, it would be eliminated altogether. Now, there are some areas, some people where we do have our Direct Connect program. That is an option. It costs them a little more, but there are a lot of areas, like along the parts of Bryan Dairy Road, that are not going to have fixed route service. Anyone else? Yes?
How many of those folks are problem solvers? I'm thinking about the fella that works in UPS, and he rides the bike to the bus station outside at Seminole Mall, and will take 58 down Bryan Dairy to, and then cut up 49 to UPS. He has to go down 126. There's other ways to solve it, but I don't know if he's looking at those other ways. It's going to take another trip, but you can problem solve. And I wonder how many people are willing to do that. It's going to take more time, hopefully not more money if they have a day pass. I wonder how much problem solving anybody's done.
Well, I know a lot of the people who have commented, and I don't want to sugarcoat this. There are some out there who've said, yes, I will have other options, but it's going to take me, like one gentleman who was talking about, he was here at the public hearing, talking about getting from downtown where he is, if he loses the 22, it'll cost him another hour and a half each direction to get to Bay Pines and back. So yes, he'll have an option, but it's not a very good one, and we see a lot of that. We also heard from some of the 58s that said they can go around, but I've heard people say anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours additional each way. So that's the kind of impact we're looking at for some of these.
Yeah, I'm a student at Gibbs, and I've heard a lot of comments about how much more difficult it's going to be. There is an option, of course, if you're in a wheelchair or something, it makes it even harder, but there is an option of taking the 79 and getting off at, what is that, Fifth Ave?
The 7, I
That's
don't know off
not-
the top of my head. I know the
yeah.
7 goes a couple of blocks north too, but it's still a few blocks worth of a walk for there.
And it's even worse for the 58 because I think the nearest thing for the 58 is the 18. And I did
That's
that.
where on the 58, yeah.
I'm talking about the college.
Oh, the college, yes.
specifically.
Mhm.
I walked that walk at night, and it's a safe area, but it was a good hike.
Yeah, I believe that's more than about a mile and a half. I think we've done that.
I didn't
It's a long-
figure it out. I didn't have my pedometer then, but I went to one of the debates for the Green Light Pinellas, and that's how I had to get back. I would have had to, even if it had been cut,
Yes, because it didn't run
because
late
of the
enough.
hours.
Yes.
But
Still have that.
I know how bad that is, and if you're in a wheelchair, that's gonna be monumental.
It's not convenient, that's for sure. Okay, any other comments?
So it's 5 million annually to keep those routes going, is that the estimate?
The 5 million, this is a 1.7 million cut, but we would need more to keep them longer than a year. You're pushing it out, so you're not cutting it all just come the same time next year. And that's what they're looking at, working with the county and working with the service, and Brad can probably address that a little better.
Yeah, so what you see up there on the screen is really what the PSTA board, and what we're hoping that you, as the rider committee, can recommend what you would think would be better. Kind of an option A or an option B. Option B, A, which is the top bullet, circle bullet there, go ahead and make the cuts in June. That's in 2 months. All those routes that Bob just went through would go away. Option B would be to make no cuts in June, and perhaps not make any cuts for the foreseeable future, as we try to work with the county and other folks to try to secure funding, as much as $5 million in annual funds. What that would do is that would basically provide us with a stopgap measure from what we're projecting for several years, that we wouldn't have to make the cuts. If quite frankly, there was discussion of the PSTA board last month, and there's nobody that wants to make the reductions, including myself who rides the bus. But the fact of the matter is that PSTA can use its reserves and avoid making these reductions, but that's not a long-term solution, because the reserves are going to run out. So that's why we're saying option B really is to not make the cuts, but keep the discussions going to try to identify funds in time for next year's budget, which will either have bigger cuts or we'll have found a solution by then.
Wow. Anybody else have an idea or an opinion?
I'm just curious as to how within, it's April, June, July, how can we come up with the funds to kick the can down the road? Is that even a possibility? I know somebody told me I needed to come up with $500 by July. I'd be kind of hard pressed.
I mean, I think it's a possibility. I think there. I know that the county commission is having a lot of discussions. They're going to schedule some more workshops on transportation funding, not just for transit, but transportation funding. I know Mr. Kovar next to you, the Fort Pinellas is having discussions almost monthly about it. Whether or not they come up with $5 million every year, I'm uncertain. I'm hopeful that they'll come up with some amount of money, and that will allow us to reduce the amount of reserves, or at least buy us some more time. I think that's really the goal. It's just get some funds so that we can just buy us some time and look for a longer term solution. That's what really option B is. And so it's really, but like you say, it's really option A, make the cuts, or B, punt, kick the can down the road a little. But
And there's a lot. There's a lot to it, because you will hear people out there saying, "We'll just go ahead and cut them, and then if you get the money, bring them back." That is really expensive, because when we go through cuts, you've got to change. We're changing our system maps and all our printed materials, our online materials. We've got a lot to do with marketing. We've got signs. We've got our outreach team out there. We're going to be on every bus, riding every bus. It is a very time-consuming, expensive operation. Then when you turn around a year later and bring them back, now you're doing it all over again the other direction. So this, there's a lot of wisdom here to doing what we can to not have to go through that back and forth. Yes, sir.
Okay. When is the fiscal year for PSTA?
October, it begins October
So
1st.
it's government, just like
Yeah.
us. Okay,
Yeah.
October.
Wow. A lot to think about. Anybody else? Because now we're getting ready to do a motion on this.
So it sounds like option A is we don't care about the 300 people that came forward.
Right.
Or option B is the county commission or whoever needs to kind of buck up and find some money. Those are the two options. And if option B, they don't get the money, you just cut them?
That's what it sounds like to me after hearing
Option
Brad.
B can't work, option A.
And these two talking together, I don't know which way to go, but choose, try and find the money, then we can go another year and then make the cut. Is that a possibility?
Yes, that's essentially what option B is.
And then then we don't have to cut everything and then have to redo it. If we cut it now, and then, oh my goodness, we found some money and put it all back. And that costs money itself. Okay, all right, that helps.
The way that I've looked at this problem is, there's an old saying that says it's above my pay grade. As a rider, I'm very concerned about a given driver, a certain route. Do the buses run on time? Are we keeping them clean? Are we recognizing safety and curb cuts and things like that? When it comes to something this strategic, what I would vote on is a resolution that said, we don't, we pity the board for having to be in this spot. We respect you guys having to make the tough decision. Whichever one you make, we back you. Because we could not possibly, would never be in this spot. We're sorry you're in it, and God, good wind at your back. That's how I would say it, because it is way over my pay grade. That's what I would say.
I guess, I think at least as a writers committee, we should obviously pick option 2 and say, hey, try to find money. And I don't really pity them, because I think there's people on that board that have the decision, or at least are on the board to make a decision to give them money. And so it's our opportunity as writers to be like, hey, we're tired of the cuts. It's your opportunity to go find some money.
Thank you. All right. Anybody have more ideas? Have they been thinking? Because I have. If not, we're ready to call for a motion. And we'll think about it before I say this. Okay. All in favor?
We need a motion to approve option 2. And a second.
I'll second, or I'll approve.
Wait, we need to-
I'll move that we accept
Okay.
option B to look for more money.
Okay, now we got the second. Okay, now we
Second. Okay.
There.
All in favor, say aye.
This is in favor of the second option.
Second option.
Correct, just to be clear.
Yes.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All in, not in favor, say nay. For option 2. Okay, looks like that passes. We're gonna go for hoping for
Second aside.
more money.
I mean, if I can take one more second on this, so I don't mean to be facetious, but the guys on the board all run for re-election. They're mayors and councilmen, and so they're held to that fire. So we can say, hey, I want 100 buses, and I want them to run every 10 minutes. Where are you going to pay for them? That's your problem. Well, it's their problem. And so I know, the answer to all this is a sales tax or is whatever policy, but again, it's above our pay grade. I went knocking door to door for Greenlight, and it failed. And so that's why we're here. It's up to these poor guys on that board to make these kind of decisions. That's what I was trying to say.
Hillsborough's initiative gives me hope.
Exactly.
That this can be a pry bar, perhaps, to say, well, Hillsborough did it.
And I'll tell you, if we can find a way to start getting funding, I'm sure this will be the first group going door to door
Exactly.
with rallies and signs and T-shirts, and let's go.
Exactly.
Let's get that
So
started.
again, this is really just my own opinion, this is not what the PSA board has said, but what the Hillsborough effort did that didn't happen in 2014 was, it was a citizen-led initiative. It was
Exactly.
not the people that sit on the PSA board over in Hillsborough. It was not the Hart board.
Right.
It was the citizens, right? It's really up to them. It's not up to me or the PSA board members. No matter what their pay grade is, it really has to be led by the citizens.
At this
Or else
point.
it'll just
At this
fail.
point, yeah. That's what we've seen.
It's whether they value public transportation or not.
Well said. I'm too old to start that fight.
Technical difficulties over here.
Every time we came to a protest.
Mhm.
Older than too old.
I just want to make sure it shows the.
Moving right along, Jacob Laputka is going to do the second action item.
Secrets.
Guys, we're getting a little bit technically difficult over here. It won't be able
Information
to.
item.
Well, he pulls that up. If you're not comfortable, if you don't know Transit app very well, get your phone handy, because he's gonna lead you through it.
From Transit app tutorial. Jacob.
Okay, we're gonna do things a little differently today, although I was hoping to be able to show, 'cause this is different, interesting, because I'm trying to get the presentation to show on the live stream, but I want to do something a little more interactive with you guys where I can actually show you what's going on my phone.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's work on that for a second. I think that should be booting up.
Maybe this is part of Jacob's presentation, I don't want to steal some there, but how many of you have actually used the
Thank you.
transit?
Yeah, that's gonna be my first question.
Yes.
Oh, great. Glad to see that most of you are using it. So this will be a refresher for some of you, but for others, it will be a little bit of.
I believe
it'll be
Jacob
a-
is the first person
one-on-one.
to give a presentation about a topic where he's wearing a T-shirt.
Yeah, so this is the, I know, so yep, so this is the logo for the app. So in case you do not have it downloaded yet, type in Transit and look for this logo. And,
That is the sale point right there.
Yes.
all right. I just need to connect to this thing. Company.
Edwin, you weren't, Edwin, you didn't use it for, in case you didn't know, Edwin was out helping us take surveys for our park and ride in Clearwater. So that's when I started using it, just to let people know when our buses were arriving.
I've been using it for quite a while.
Okay.
Okay, almost there. Sorry, I spent so much time to figure this out, but I want to thank the public engagement folks. They helped me get to the point to be able to figure out that we could use our old projector system to get it to project, because our new projector system does not have casting abilities yet. So that is something we're going to be working on. And I was gung-ho about doing it this way because I wanted to show as I'm doing it for you so we can be more interactive. Here we go. Perfect.
All right, there we go.
All right, there we go. All right, so my name is Jacob Budka, so I'm project planner here at PSTA, and I'm the primary liaison between PSTA and Transit app. So I'm frequently in communications with them. They're telling me that we talk about existing features of the app, make sure that we have the materials that we need and the information that we need, so everyone internally knows about the app. Our public engagement staff has the best information to be able to go out and tell people about it. I'm in frequent contact with customer service, make sure they have the right information about it. And now I am here with all of you lovely people to show you the best and newest stuff that Transit app has to offer. So one of the things I would like to say right off the bat is, if you have not updated your app, I would recommend that you go ahead and do that. Because in the last week, Transit app actually just made some new improvements to the app in the way that it displays some of its information. And I'm going to cover some of those differences today. So first off, so this is obviously the open screen that shows up when you open the app. So it opens based on your current location. So of course, here we are at PSTA. It lists all of the routes that are nearby, like the 11, 52, 52LX, the 59. So one of the things you may notice is different is, hey, there are some numbers that are a little faded and some that are not. So this is the distinction. So any number that is white and has that little radio signal by it, that means our real-time data is transmitting into the feed. So those numbers are the predictive departure times of when the bus is going to arrive. Now, there are some times that our real-time feed is not associated here. So our real-time information only displays within 30 minutes of a bus's departure. So if you're looking at a trip that's going to leave within an hour, it's only going to be based on the schedule. So if I scroll down to, say, the 300X, which is maybe a half mile up the road, so that's not pulling in the real-time information, so that's going to be more of that faded gray type thing. But for all of the other buses, most of them do have the real-time information, so you see the bright white lettering with the real-time information. So, of course, you only see one direction. So with the 52, for example, this is going towards Clearwater. But if you swipe on the screen, you can see it in the other direction. So that's going towards St. Pete. For some reason, it's going towards the Judicial Center. So that'll be something I check in with our scheduling folks to make sure that says St. Petersburg. But so we have it going towards there and going towards Clearwater. So if I click on this, let's click on the 52, so that's a very popular route. So a couple of things show up here. So this shows you the nearest route where you can board the bus to head in that direction. Shows you some upcoming times. So of course, the bus is estimated to arrive in 28 minutes, and as you can see, that's based on the real-time information, but there are some upcoming trips in 58 minutes and 128 minutes, or 1 hour and 28 minutes as well. And you can also scroll between directions on this feed as well. And then if you scroll up, you can actually see all of the stops it's going to stop at between your current location and the final destination. And you can see just estimated times of arrival just based on the schedule by each of these stop locations here. And you can actually see in some locations where you can transfer to. So you can see the 52LX, which is a limited express variant of the 52 that we launched last year. You go further down the line, so you have 150th Avenue North, 58th Street, you can transfer to 79. And so of course, Largo Transit Center, you can transfer to more routes. So that's what shows up on this display underneath. So let's just say, hey, I want to get ready to go on this stop. So you can press the go button, and then
departing in 26 minutes.
If you have your sound on, a lovely British sounding man will tell you when the next estimated time of arrival is. You do have to make sure you have your sound on by clicking the sound icon there. If you don't want him to, say you're in a meeting or something, you don't want him to come on, make sure you have that the volume thing in the top left corner off. So it tells you it's going to leave in about 19 minutes. I'm sorry, that's telling you should leave in 19 minutes. And it accounts to, it says that you should budget about 5 minutes to walk there so you can get there by the time the bus leaves. Now, say you want to maybe say, oh, hey, I might take more than 5 minutes to walk, or maybe I want to get there a few minutes before the bus arrives. You can actually click on the little man, the man right there, and you can have more walking time accounted for in your Go feature trip planning. So you can actually set that walking time, and so when you increase it, it'll tell you to leave in 14 minutes instead, so you can get to the bus stop whenever you are ready to go that way. So, and you can even set a destination stop. So say you know what stop you want to go to. So let's say we're going to go here. Boom, and it's going to tell you to get off there, and it'll actually know that when you are on the bus, and it'll tell you exactly when to get off while you are riding if you keep this Go feature on.
Can you repeat that again, the destination stop again?
Yes. So if you click that little bottom where it says 150th Avenue North and 58th Street,
Gotcha.
so there you can toggle between all of the stop names along that route.
Gotcha.
So that's just one option for kind of journey planning. But of course, you know, maybe your trip is just along the 52 and you know what stop you're going to get off at. But maybe you have to transfer and you have to go a little further. So say, I know, I need to go to PetSmart at Clearwater Mall. I think there's a PetSmart there. I know there's a really nice Target. In any case, let's say you need to go to Clearwater Mall. You need to transfer routes to do that. So let's do a little trip plan together. You can click on the little where to bar there. Let's say we're going to go to Clearwater Mall. And shows you the routes that serve there, that transfer. So we've got the 19 and the 60. So let's click on Clearwater Mall. Here we go. So this tells you the different trip options that you have available to you. So if we leave in 5 minutes, we can catch the 52LX to the 19, and we can transfer, I believe, at Largo Transit Center. And you can see, if you click on the every 15 to 30 minutes icon, you can see similar trips that are leaving in the future. So say you're not ready to leave right now, then maybe you go for this trip in 35 minutes. Or maybe you go for this trip in 48 minutes. So if you set a trip that's maybe far in the future, so if it's really far, that Go feature isn't going to pop up. So that's a little ding, that's like a little alarm. So you can actually set it to notify you a certain number of minutes before your departure. So let's say I set it 20 minutes before and create a reminder. So a notification should pop up 20 minutes before you have to leave saying, hey, you should think about leaving in a little bit. I mean, it's not actually going to say it in those words, but basically. So let's just say, okay, I'm going to go for the trip that's in 4 minutes. I'll click on my Go.
2LXLX Clearwater Limited stops, departing in 9 minutes.
So I need to leave in 4 minutes and have 5 minutes of walking to be able to get the bus that leaves within 9 minutes. And if for some reason you were to miss that one, it tells you that there's another bus you could catch that's coming in 24 minutes, and so on and so forth. So yeah, and then it tells you, yep, so you go to Largo Transit Center, transfer, get to your destination. So what else can you do? So let's do another route. You know what? Somebody pick a route. Anybody have a favorite route that's on here?
One of those?
We went to the 100?
No, I'm
Wait.
just saying one of the ones on the screen.
Yeah, just one of the ones on the screen.
300, yeah. The 4.
All right, 4. I must say, that's one of our popular ones. All right. So, of course, when you open it up, so I went through this little bit of a view before, but something that's kind of interesting is you can actually toggle around the map. So here you can actually see where the buses are in real time. So, you can zoom in and say, hey, 12 seconds ago, the feed was actually reporting that the bus was in this particular location. Now, I find this kind of tool useful. So there's some times where I'm at my house. So the numbers here, so these are estimated departure times just based on the location of the vehicle and the schedules. But keep in mind that it is an estimate. So that's part of the reason why we tell people to get to your stop ideally 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. So, it'll probably arrive in, so it's about to arrive now and in 13 minutes. However, say traffic is really light today, it might actually arrive maybe, if I'm not at a time point, it might arrive a little bit before that 13 minutes because maybe there weren't a lot of people boarding, traffic was light, or say traffic was heavy and maybe it will take a little bit longer than that. So those are some things to keep in mind there. But anyway, so you can scroll out, you can actually see the buses, you can click any of the stops along here. It tells you just based, and that going towards Aurora Hannah Drive, at that particular stop, it'll arrive at 5:11 p.m. Coincidentally, it's actually one of our Direct Connect locations. So you can click on there, and this will show you the routes that are nearby to that location. So of course, there's the 4. There's actually a little Direct Connect symbol that shows up there that we work with Transit App to get into the app. That's shown for all 24 of our locations. So of course, you can see that the 100X serves there as well, so, serves close by. So say you need to transfer to the 100X. Here we go. There we go. And so you can just get on right there. So let's get out of that mode. Let's see, I think we went through schedules and alerts. So, of course, there are also a lot of different settings. If you want to customize it, make it your own. So let's go to settings. There's a couple of different options here. So apart from showing transit, the services like Lyft and Uber are integrated into the app. So if you have those accounts, you can actually book your trips entirely within the Transit App platform without ever having to leave. So this is part of the Transit App's goal to become a sort of one-stop shop for your mobility needs. So there are things like bike share, TNCs like Uber and Lyft, and of course transit. And I think it's good that they're called transit because transit is the backbone of the mobility system, but of course there are other services like TNCs and bike share that are supportive of the goals of public transportation. So if you have those accounts, they're shown here. You can actually favorite transit lines when you're on that each route's menu. You can click the star option and favorite it. So let's go to 52. So you can just look at your settings for the 52. You can add it to favorites. You can have, I'll see the departure alarm I set earlier is shown there. You can turn on service alerts, either at commute hours at all times. We currently don't push out too many service alerts using Transit App, but we should be in the future. Something you can only do on the iPhone, I'm hoping it's coming for the Android, and I promise to follow up about it, but you can actually do Siri voice shortcuts using the Transit App. So you can set it up to have her say, you can say, when's the next Siri, hey Siri, when's the next 52? And it'll pull up the page of the route 52 immediately without you even having to press the app. So that's something that's pretty cool about that. And then, let's see, I'm going to touch on a little bit about some upcoming features. So I obviously have alluded to the fact that Uber and Lyft are in the app. So something that we worked on with them is Transit App selected a handful of cities to do multimodal trip planning. And so what I mean by that is, transfer between modes, namely in this app, to transfer between transit and services like Uber and Lyft, or vice versa. And I can actually show you what that looks like right now. So let's say you're going to go to the neighborhood Shore Acres. We currently don't provide any public transportation services there. Say you have a friend that lives there you can see once a month or something, and you want to go see her. Let's call her Jenny. I don't know, maybe there's a Jenny that lives there, who knows. So let's go to Shore Acres. And it should eventually pop up. I don't know why. Come on. Perfect. All right, so we're going to go to Shore Acres, get directions. Okay, so it says that there are no transit-only routes found. Like I said, there are no public transportation services that serve that area. However, by combining transit and services like Uber and Lyft, you can get to your destination. So if I click on here, it'll tell me to leave the bus, leave for the 452 trip, transfer here, and then take an Uber the rest of the way there. Now, I think this is a great start for that sort of integration, but of course, as you all know, we have our Direct Connect program that only works from one of 24 locations. So you might be thinking, how does that interplay with this? So one thing that we're working on with them is to be able to more fully integrate that program into the app. So like I said, you can actually currently see all of the Direct Connect locations in the app as shown by these little dots right here, but in the future, we're hoping that you can not only use the multimodal trip planning feature that I just showed, but actually have that $5 subsidy on Uber apply in the app. So you don't even have to leave the transit app platform to be able to book that full multimodal trip involving a first or last mile service. So that's something that's one of several things we're working on with them. In addition to that, so if any of you have been around downtown St. Pete, you may know that there's a network of bike share services that currently exist around there that for some reason are not showing in the app. Let's see if let's say this is another thing. So another thing in your settings is that you can see what all, you can turn certain things on, you can add new favorited locations, you can minimize walking if you don't want to walk a lot in your trip. Let's see, I don't know. Let's see, so Coast Bike Share should be showing. There we go, perfect. Weak GPS signal, that's no good. Maybe it's something to do with this room. Anyway, so currently you can click on the Coast Bike Share trips, you can see, oh hey, there's 14 bikes there and only one dock available to leave a bike. So that's something you can actually look at now and you can plan Coast Bike Share trips currently if you're in that area. So it'll say, hey, walk over here, catch a Coast Bike Share bike, go across the other side of downtown and you can leave it at this dock. So that's step one. But in the future, as part of this more integrated app vision that we're trying to go towards, we're hoping that you can actually pay for your bike share within this app as well. So I can kind of show you how this works in other places. So in Chicago, for example, they have one of the largest bike share systems in the country called Divvy. And so they have actually set it up to where currently you can just do it all within the app without having to leave or download anything else. Oh, and clearly, I guess you could have guessed this by this being in Chicago, but this app works in about, I think last count was about 170 cities worldwide. So if you travel to other areas, this app should have all the public transportation information that you need. So it's great not having to download a new app if you go somewhere else. So it should eventually load. Come on now. Does anyone have any questions while we wait for this to load?
Does it work in Hillsborough?
Yes, it does.
So Hearts are online?
Yes.
Excellent.
So even though they've gone on the route of endorsing one bus away, they're so much like ourselves, so our real-time information is publicly available to any app developers that want to use it. So I believe Google Transit uses our real-time information and Heart's real-time information, and I believe it should be integrated in Heart's system as well.
What about Pasco?
I don't think it works in Pasco. So I think for Pasco, I believe the only trip planning is on Google.
This is really great. I'm blown away. Will you come back and catch up? Because hopefully we all go home and play with it and figure it out.
Yeah.
And also, can we make this information to the people that show up and say, don't come my route, I need to go to work? Because this kind of app, combining with all the other modes of transportation, will be helpful. Should we actually end up cutting routes?
No, absolutely. And I mean, of course, this is updated every service change. So whether we end up, I think I locked it. So whether we end up cutting routes, or if we just, or if we have to reduce service in the future, or hopefully add service in the future, that'll all show up pretty instantaneously on day one of the service change, so people can plan those routes immediately, or those trip plans immediately.
And the people need to know.
Absolutely.
People that are upset because they can't make it to the businesses on Bryan Dairy, they need to know. We're not cutting you out in the cold.
So I think to that point, so one thing that we're actually able to, hold on, I'm going to show you this real quick, and then I'm going to show you, address your point since I'm already in Chicago and it loaded up. So just real quick with the bike share thing, I can click on, in their system, I can actually click on it, and I can purchase an access pass right within the app. And I see this and I get like a little jealous. I'm like, I need this here like yesterday.
Except they had snow yesterday, so.
Okay, I don't know why.
Plenty of bikes available.
Oh, here we go. So I can choose a single ride, I can get Explorer Pass, or if somebody gave me a Divvy gift code, I can put it in there. So once I go through the motions here, I could actually get, oh, and the thing that's pretty cool, if you exit it, I love how it says abandon. Are you sure you want to abandon this process? It's, I just kind of, it's interesting terminology. Anyway, so now to address your point, let me show you something that we are able to do. Let me go back to my current location. So I know you can obviously see where this banner is. So this Widget Teaser real-time banner at the top, if you click there, it takes you to a little link that kind of describes some of the new app updates I've described, mainly just with the, I don't know, apparently still thinks we're in Chicago. But I can still show you. So apparently their real-time is not integrated into their system, so everything is faded gray. So that particular banner references that. However, one thing that's great about our partnership with Transit App is that all I have to do is send an email to my contact, and I can get them to do a banner anywhere I want them to do in any sort of geofenced area. So an example of that, if it will ever load, yes, the internet does not like this room. Okay. Oh, come on. Oh, let me, excellent. Okay, so there, pretend like there is a banner up there. I don't know why it's not up there. Oh, perfect, yes. Oh, I'm just like, don't let me down, Transit. So, there's a banner up there that says, park and ride the trolley for free, tap here for spring break information, and that will take you to the landing page on our website that describes our spring break services. So, to finally address your point, so say we have service changes in the future that happen, we can actually set it up to, maybe a couple of weeks or whatever amount of time we want to before a service change. We can let people know through the app, hey, there's an upcoming service change that's going to happen. Click here so you can learn more about it. Sorry it took so long to address your point, but here we are. And sorry that the internet is as slow as it is. Okay, so one more thing I'm going to show you that's an upcoming feature that's pretty cool, and then I'll take more questions, is, so one thing I obviously showed was that multimodal planning, where you could plan your trip, and book and pay for your Uber within the app, which you might be thinking, well, what about transit? I'd love to be able to pay for transit in my app. So, of course, you may know that we're working on our Flamingo project, where we are working on getting smart card capabilities on all of our buses, but associated with that would be an expanded mobile app option. So we do have the little beta app that has a few options, but once this goes live, fingers crossed this fall, then we would have more options such as, I think for me, a single ride would be, I think for a lot of people, they just want one ride, they want an easy way to book it, and a mobile app obviously offers a pretty easy way for people to do that without having to, maybe go to a store or a machine or what have you. So that is something that they are currently working on in other places, and there is one place where it is live today, and it's really cool, so I would love to show you that. Okay, so another fun fact, Transit App is actually a Canadian company based out of Montreal, so they have a pretty large presence in Canada. So one of their first places that they've done this sort of in-app mobile payment experience is, not St. Catharines? Well, it's probably close enough to St. Catharines. So in St. Catharines, once it loads up, you're actually able to pay, okay, maybe not the island of let's just type in regular St. Catharines.
Oh, that was in Georgia.
Let's see, yeah, we're not going to Georgia, a little farther away than that. Of course, I only have one bar in here. Come on. Come on. Well, let's refresh the app. Sometimes when things don't work, it's good to refresh. Sometimes we also recommend restarting your phone, but I'm not going to do that now because that's going to take way too long. Okay, here we go. Friends. Okay, come on, finding suggestions. Come on, you've been working so well for me. So well.
tried deleting a few letters. I think it came up more.
Okay, you're probably, oh, you're right. That was good. That was good. Clearly the search thing, oh wait, St. Catherine's.
Come on.
Oh, got it. There we go. Wait, let's see, I perfected this earlier. There we go. St. Catherine's, Ontario. There we go. So you can immediately see, even before everything else loaded up, at the bottom, well, you couldn't get the whole name of the agency in, but it says buy ticket. So there, it'll load. There we go, St. Catherine's Transit Commission. Yeah, and when I tested this earlier, it came up in 1 second, and now it's.
Jacob, did you talk about, maybe you did, and I missed it, did you talk about the little smiley faces?
Oh, that's. Now, wait, oh.
Is it there?
Wait, okay, I think you're. Oh. Okay, you know, I'm going to talk about the smile. Thank you for bringing up the smiley face. So you might have seen on, and I'll go into it once this eventually loads, in your settings, it. Oh, and now, why is the phone frozen? Oh. Okay, a little technical difficulty here. Maybe got too many apps open on here. Man, you know what? Okay, we're gonna go to the smiley face thing real quick, since that's being a little. Oh man, everything was so good until now.
Yeah, we were enjoying this. I think it's fascinating.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Now this. Okay, so when this eventually loads, there's going to be a smiley face that says the number of people that you have helped. So something that I forgot to mention, thank you, Brad, whenever I open up the Go feature is whenever you're in Go in a place. So, oh, there we go. So, oh, it says offline. That's no good. Well,
I didn't say that before.
Oh, no,
It
it's
had,
so,
like,
it's
a
so
number.
interesting. Anyway, so if it weren't offline, it would show you that the total number of writers that you've helped using the Go feature, I believe for this number it was 12, so clearly Juan doesn't use his work phone for Transdev that much. I don't know what it says on your regular phone. Hopefully the number is a little higher. I'm totally going to check later. But, but anyway, so when you use the Go feature, there are other the other writers will actually be able to the real-time information that they see, rather than being based on our real-time system, is going to be based on the location of your phone. So as you journey along a bus, so rather than seeing a bus and you click on it and it says, oh, from PSTA, there'll be a little smiley face on the bus, and that means that the real-time information is powered by Go. So there's no delay at all. So with our buses, it maybe refreshes every 30 seconds to a minute, but with the bus, there is no refresh rate because it just knows exactly where the device is, and it goes along the road and just helps provide real-time information to other passengers. And I've definitely seen that myself. There have been buses that I'm about to get on, and I see it come on, and I'm like, there's a fellow Transdev user on there because there's a smiley face, because they're using the Go feature. And I think in other larger markets, like in Vancouver, for example, where they have thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of users, you see every other route, real-time information is provided by Go because there's such just a concentration of users using that feature. So I think in certain areas it's definitely even improved their real-time information in general. Is it off online now? Well, in any case. But yes, that's a little bit about the smiley face. We're gonna try one more time for St. Catherine's. At least it's there. Oh, and there we go, okay.
Turn on Wi-Fi? I've got a strong
Yes.
Wi-Fi.
You know, I think, question for you. Can you set an arrival time? So I want to arrive here at a certain time.
Thank you, yes.
Back it up into what I have to do to get there.
That is part of the trip planning feature. Okay, so, you know what, I think I'm going to...
We'll call you before we go to St. Catherine's.
Yes. Okay, so we're just going to pretend it's going to show a little thing that says you can select your rider type, so you can select adult, child, and I think there's a few other options, and you can actually, you know what, okay, we're just going to go back to Pinellas County. But yes, that's a feature that they do have and that they are working on. All right, apparently St. Catherine's does not want to work for me today. Okay, so to show you a little more about trip planning, so let's say you want to go to, let's say we're going to go downtown. Downtown Tampa. I go to downtown St. Petersburg. You know what? Something else you can do. This might be interesting too. So you can actually like move around in the map too. And so you say, I know I want to go here. Maybe I don't want to type in the address, but I know about where I want to go. I can put my thing there and then click on the arrow, and then it will provide me options to get to that destination eventually. But I think hopefully, but right. So if I click the Leave Now button, you can do different options. So to would finally address your point, you can, or question, you can say, hey, I want to leave right now, or I want to maybe leave in an hour because that's when I'll get out of work, or maybe I need to arrive by a certain time. So maybe I'm going to some meeting or meeting up with friends and I need to be there by 6 o'clock. I can get a trip travel option that is based on that. And then if it ever loads, that'll show up.
If you set that alarm for like tomorrow, like on another date or whatever, you have to have the transit app up on your phone for it to alert you, or?
I do not believe so, no. I think as long as it should just give you a notification before the time of departure.
It has sort of a sleeping agent.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, finally, here we go. So, okay, I want to get there, but, oh. Apparently it's a little sensitive right now. Apparently it doesn't like the internet. Yep, so I think it's on offline mode, so it's saying there's no, okay, well, pretend like what was just there was showing. This has not gone like I thought it would, but at least for the most part, you've gotten to see a little bit about the app. So are there any other questions that I can, yes?
I have a question. Last week, I used the app all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But last week, the route was late,
Mm-hmm.
and then it came up, it'll be here in another half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there for like 20 minutes waiting for the number 52 bell.
Mm-hmm.
But it can't say 0 minutes. But then it didn't show up, it showed me another half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
I literally had to call PSTA and see where's my bus at.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wouldn't come up on the transit app.
So do you know if the little radio signal was on showing the real-time information? Or was
It was real-time information. But the bus was running late by 11 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But it still said another half an hour.
Hmm.
So I don't know if that is possible to try to fix that.
Yeah, well, I mean, so there have been a couple of data issues that show up. So sometimes it's just maybe, trying to think. You know, I might get with you afterward to get your specific situation and look through our real-time system and see if I can identify what the issue was. But you know, there are times maybe if there's like, so I think a good example is on Clearwater Beach right now with all of the traffic that's there right now. Say I'm like at the Clearwater Beach Transit Center and I'm like waiting for a Suncoast Beach trolley and it's saying it's going to be there in 10 minutes, but the causeway's backed up for half an hour. Frankly, there's no way it's going to be there in 10 minutes. So I think the real-time prediction software, I don't know, apparently delayed, the real-time prediction software, at least as of right now, doesn't account for that increase in traffic. So the traffic increases are somewhat accounted for in the schedule, but there are times where it's just impossible to account for just the craziness of traffic, especially at things like spring break, that sometimes, you know, the real time may just keep saying a certain number. So I'm not sure if that's what happened in your situation, but like I said, I will speak with you afterwards to get that information.
Just lastly, you went through it real quick. How did you expand the site to see where all the buses were at in real time?
Yes, if I can get this back up, apparently, let's try this again. Okay, let's. Okay, so I click on just any old route. So let's say I click on the Central Downtown Trolley since we're downtown. And then that's where it shows me, okay, so that's where this particular trolley is at, going towards 75th and Golf. I can go
expand at that symbol, and it'll tell you where each individual bus,
yes.
where it's at
yes,
that time.
Exactly.
You have to click on one of the routes that's listed below.
Yes.
Yes.
Then it'll show it.
Yep. So and these are only the vehicles going in that direction. So if I were to swipe it over, then these are all the vehicles that are headed towards the St. Petersburg Pier stop. Now you want to work for me?
I've
Yeah.
done it
Oh, sorry.
Today I dealt with it getting here, that's why I was so late, so I interrupted. There's major construction on Gulf Boulevard, trolleys, couldn't even get to that side of the street. And the people, because there's quite a few, you know, tourists and stuff there, didn't know which way to go. I wound up calling, but I used the app first, and it said, you know, one was coming in 6 minutes, and one was coming in 12 minutes, because they were backed up behind it. But they were like at John's Pass. They were actually in Treasure Island. I called a minute later and talked to them just to figure out. And they weren't over the bridge yet. So then it went from the 6 minutes when I did it again on the app to another 8 minutes. It's going to come down. So it was keeping up with it somewhere along the line. But that was the other thing. When construction like that's going on, it's really dangerous to go out because you have to go out the one. Because it was all in the first lane, the second lane was open, and they had so many trucks. I got videos of it. I went from 140th, I walked up to 150th to try to get past it, but they were all the way up to that point. But by the time the bus was coming, they were just pulling the cones off. It's going to be doing, I guess, on the other side of the street, going south.
But you made it, yay.
Pardon?
You made it. Yeah.
Oh, I made it.
Yes.
But and I left early, extra early. But then I went. The one good thing, the 59 in Indian Rocks does come every 15 minutes. But they had a lot of traffic just going down Almerton. That's the time of year you expect it. But I also used the text.
Yes.
And they weren't on.
Yeah, so I think
that's because of the traffic.
Exactly. So I think the data that you would get from the texting, or even if you go on our website, there's also just a real-time widget on our website as well. But that's all coming from the same data source. So those numbers should be fairly similar to what's reflected in Transit App. Yes, you have a question.
Yes, it's still happening today. Every once in a while, I had the 52 set to come up here, showing me the time. All of a sudden, it's showing it going south. It just switches direction. And if I'm looking at it, which I wasn't paying attention to the direction.
So is this before or while you're on the bus, or?
No, I was in Target at, what do you call it? Shops. And I did the little thing where you slide in.
Yes.
Which I don't know if you covered that one or not. That gets confusing to people too. I had it set for north, and all of a sudden, I'm looking at it, and it didn't say the 49th Street, whatever. It said.
So did you just have it on this home screen, or were you planning a trip, or?
I just had it on that screen.
Okay, well,
right
I think
there.
sometimes, I mean, if you might have closed out of the app or something, and you go back to it, I think maybe it's one way or the other. Maybe it's like maybe defaulted to be on, you know, one side or the other. I'm not sure which one it chooses.
But I just was walking around the store with it in my hand, and all of a sudden, it was going the wrong way. It just switched itself out of nowhere.
Well,
I
that is
wasn't touching the screen or anything.
Let's say, I mean, perhaps, I mean, my guess is that maybe if you leave it in one direction for a long time, it automatically goes back to the other side. But I mean, that is a good observation, and I guess maybe a lesson for us all, that if we're using this app just to make sure that, you know, hey, it does say that the direction that we're going, even if we think we know the direction it's going, just to double check before clicking on it and planning your trip. But thank you for bringing that up. Yes?
I know Hillsborough is getting scooters in addition to the bike share and everything, and I'm sure we're going to follow suit here in Pinellas. Is that something that's going to be integrated into this app too?
I think, well, so I do know that's been a topic of discussion among St. Petersburg and their city council. I actually know that companies like Bird and Lime have actually joined the Chamber of Commerce, so there's a lot of, yep, so that's, even Uber has as well.
Coming.
Yes, so I think they definitely have an interest of integrating into this market. I think they're hoping, I know the Transportation Department is hoping to work closely with them, because I know in other cities there have been issues with, you know, them being left on the sidewalks and other places. So I think they're hoping that if they, you know, come into the city, they can maybe do so in a manner to where maybe there'll be certain zones or whatnot showing. But in other, let's see if it's going to show. I think there's some in, okay, let's go to Atlanta, because I think Atlanta is a place that has scooters. So if it's going to work for me, Here we go. So, okay, well, so that's, okay, well, it's not a scooter, but there are companies like Jump that do operate scooters. So in this case, it's an electric bike, but, you know, it would be the same thing if it was a scooter. It would be the same technology that would allow it to integrate into the app infrastructure. So right now, I don't think you can pay for this particular service, at least where it's showing here in Atlanta, but at least shows you that it is there. It allows you to trip plan with it, and then it gives you obviously a link to download the app, or you're, hey, what is Jump? Or hey, what's a dogless bike? And then you can learn all that within the app. Yes.
I'm an unusual user, and I'd encourage if you could get a word back to them to put maybe a YouTube video for my particular requirement. I live in Safety Harbor, kind of no man's land. And everyone I visit is a car driver. So I run out and jump on a bus and then figure out where I'm going, because I got 20 minutes to burn to say, hey, you want to meet me here? No, how about there? And on the bus, I start planning, should I change to this or that bus is late, I'll catch the other. And this app is very strange. If you're moving on a bus, it has trouble telling you, get on the bus you're on already, because you just missed it. And so what I end up saying is, well, I'm really at a corner 1 mile down the street, and I'm trying to go to this restaurant to meet my friend, and oh, that doesn't work. No, don't go there, meet me at IHOP instead. And that's what I'm doing, but I'm a weird guy, that I just jump on the bus south. I'll get on that 61 and figure it out when I get there, rather than do all the planning.
Yeah, I do know, because I've done that.
I'm a totally different user, but if the guys in transit would sit down, I can't be the only guy doing that, and write something about how to plan a trip on the fly on a bus. Here's a neat trick. There'd be a lot of us who would go to YouTube and use that technique.
Okay, I can. That's something I can look into. Yeah, I do know, and I've done that myself. And on the bus, just been because I'm kind of like nerdy, and I'm like, oh hey, how long would it take me if I was like, I don't know. Sometimes I think about like if I have a trip coming up, like so when I've gone to conferences, like I was in Chicago recently, and I'm thinking, how long will it take me to get from here to there? Right. I think you are able to do that, but I think you just have to be careful that it's not using your current location, and that when you okay, let's try this.
A favorite question is I'm going down 61 saying, well, I'll meet you over on 4th Street. I'll catch one of the buses, whichever one's more convenient. And that's a very high-level question to ask a piece of software.
Yeah.
You check this, check that. Oh, this one has a 20-minute wait. Oh, this is a tight. I'll jump off on Byron. No, I'll jump off on. Again, while you're moving.
Yeah.
It just, again, I would love to pick that skill up because it's a great app. It's a great app if you're standing still and trying to figure out how to get where you're going. Once you get on the bus, it gets to be a little tricky.
No, that makes sense, and that's something I will bring up to them.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I love it.
All right. Really quick, do we have any other business? So I heard both of these guys on this great presentation here. We're all gonna go home and play with it. And we'll adjourn.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. I've been invited to the national conference for Congress for New Urbanism. It's in June. And so one of the things I'll be doing is studying transit and things, meet a lot of people, speak with this and that. So I don't know if anyone wants to chat about that. I'd be glad to speak about that with offline or whatever. Thanks.
All right. Looks like that was the business. Very informative, a lot of information. So much for wrapping up quick, because we did very well. We had a lot of information.
Juan has one thing.
Oh, Juan has one thing for us, Juan.
Yes, if you guys wanted to sign up for the Looper, or help us out with the Looper survey, come on and see me after the meeting, and I can sign you up and have a good time.
And if any of you either want to come or to watch online the PSTA board meeting next week at 9, feel free to do so. See if they agree with you.
Yes.
Or not.
Kevlar underwear.
Exactly.
Okay, adjournment. And that would be what, almost 5:10? Perfect. Anything else before we wrap it up? Okay, we're done.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job. Good job.
Appreciate it.
I texted her, I was like, you know, I'm watching the meeting, like, what do you want?
Yeah, that's all right. I mean, like, I was hoping to get the pictures of the live stream.
So I'm just sitting here this entire meeting, like,
So
I know.
what we're doing right now is we started with the questions.
I know.